call it that. He also did a lot of woodworking. He built furniture. He turned utensils for kitchen use. Pretty talented guy. He actually built that particular wagon over there for his son when his son turned 21 years old. That was his gift to his son. The wagon is over 100 years old. Christian Ashman came from Prussia. He was Prussian. He was one of the very first businessmen here. And some interesting stories about him. Here's a picture of his shop originally. And if you look at this picture, you can see a workbench right there. Well, that is that workbench that's sitting in there. It's the same workbench. Now, the interesting story to me is when I built this, I had no idea where his original building was. And so I put it here. And I found out that the address, street address of his building was 103 North Main. Guess what this museum is? 101 North Main. So it's sitting almost exactly where it was originally.
Wow.
Which is purely by accident that that happened.
Very neat. You can go ahead and step into the middle of the shop so you can get kind of a view of all the different kinds of tools.
Pretty talented guy. He came from Prussia and went to Iowa in 1873. And then about 1890 he came to Finland and set up his business, built his first business. He was actually postmaster for Superior Henry for a while.
Wow. Notice how all the tools are hand tools.
Yeah. A lot of different kind of tools in there.
But I could make all the great details and designs.
Your grandmother probably used those kind of irons, more than likely. The modern ones were these. Because you put gasoline, or a special kind of white gas in here, and then in order to do right, you use a pump, and you would pump air pressure in there, just like the Aladdin lamps were. And that would make the gas burn a little brighter and harder, which was a big improvement from the sad iron, which you had to sit on a hot stove to get hot and then iron with. So everything goes toward improvements. There's a lot of things over here. For instance, the different kind of horseshoes, or horses, or oxen. And then those things up there, what do you think they are? I usually tell kids that that's what teachers use in the early years to get control of their classes. Now, how many of you live on a farm? Then you should know what those are. If you had a calf or a colt and you didn't want them to suckle on the mother anymore, what would you do? You put that around the calf's neck, and when she wanted to suckle from the cow would kick her away because it would prick the cow, all those barbs that stick them. So there was a weaners, what we call weaning from using the mother's milk. Cruel, huh?
So now we just kind of separate them out in different pens and normally separate them out, but then they would still be in that area.
We don't do that anymore.
So yeah, so weaning is when you take the mother away from the calf so they don't nurse anymore.
I just restored this. This is a two-horse drawn disc. It didn't look like that originally. I had to take two discs and cannibalize one and make one out of the two that I had. Filling stations. By the way, I have a question for you here. In 1910, cars were just starting to come out. Where was the only place you could buy gasoline for a car in 1910? Any idea?
The mercantile store, the grocery store, I don't know.
The drugstore.
The drugstore.
Where they sell medicine. They were the only people that had gasoline. Interesting. Inman used to have a White Eagle gas station. This is what this represents, the White Eagle gas station of Inman. The buggy is a Concord buggy. When you hear the word Concord, the first thing that comes to mind is stagecoach, right? The Concord stagecoach. Concord was the company who built them. But they also built light wagons, spring wagons as they were called. And this is a very light Concord spring wagon. It's in his life, you could pick it up. It's not heavy at all. I have to mention this because I think it's so unique. I have every bit of paperwork from the company and from the people who purchased this organ from New Jersey. It's called the Beethoven organ, pump organ, from 1903. It was purchased in New Jersey, shipped to Windham, Kansas by Rock Island Railroad for the Catholic Church. And I have a letter from the company apologizing for probably the high cost of shipping it on the railroad from New Jersey to Windham. You know what the cost they thought would be? $7 or $8.
But at that time,
At that time, it was kind of expensive.
do you guys know what that organ, how you play that organ?
I have one.
You have one? So
Yeah.
has
Good
one.
puppet. And it works. Musical instruments. Every small community, no matter how big they were, had two things that they did. They had a band, a community band, and they had a baseball team. Everybody played an instrument, almost. A lot of those instruments they played were organs. Accordions. And a lot of which are small organs actually, and a lot of the accordions were made in Germany. Because most of these sitting here are from Germany. How can you tell? Well, look at the name. Solchensingen accordion. The Hohner was a company in Germany before World War II. And they were making mouth pipe organs, or little harmonicas is what they made. And they eventually then went to accordions. But a lot of these instruments, all of these were played by the people in Inman at one time or another. Most of you are familiar with records, right?
Yes.
Some kids, when they come through here, say, oh, look at the big CDs. Those are not CDs. Those are records. This is the old Slab 70. This is a Slab 78. This was the first record. This is a 33 RPM and, of course, a 45, which is revolutions per minute. I'm talking about RPM. Edison, of course, built the first players. And the first players would have been cylinder discs. This disc slides off of here. And it can be played.